China's slowdown is officially over. The economy grew 7.9% in the fourth quarter, slightly better than expected, but capped the worst annual performance for China in a decade. Joining me now is Wei Yao, China economist at Société Générale. Wei Yao, thanks for joining us. Looking at the data set, what's been driving this recovery?
Looking at the expenditure components of the GDP data, it actually suggested that the exports helped a lot in the Q4 rebound. Investment didn't do much. The consumption actually contributed less. What's not in that in that data is that investment did strengthen, but mostly the strengthening happened with the infrastructure.
So the old favourites of the Chinese government, infrastructure and exports, do you think a recovery driven by those two things is going to be sustainable for the rest of this year?
We actually think no. We think the recovery momentum may weaken start late Q2 this year. And there are several factors there. The housing sales has been bouncing back very strongly, and the housing prices start to rise very quickly. And that means the policymakers are unlikely to be comfortable with that. They may even try to tighten the credit condition to cap the housing market. Then another thing is related to the shadow banking system in China. We have seen a number of financial scandals and defaults in the past 2 months. And the banking regulator is likely to tighten regulation as a response. So overall, we think the liquidity condition may actually become a drag in the second half.
So if things begin to slow down in the latter half of this year, do you think hard landing fears could come back? And if so, what might be the trigger of a hard landing?
Every time China starts to slow, the market kind of sentiment shifted very quickly to worry about hard landing. For a good reason, because it is clear to almost everyone that China has a very imbalanced growth model. And another thing is that there is still a lot of excess capacity in China's manufacturing sector.
So the new leadership formally takes over at the end of March. What do you think economically should be their priorities?
It definitely should be structural reforms. We hope to see some change in terms of the state-owned enterprises sector and also the fiscal system.
What needs to happen to the state-owned enterprises?
So the state-owned enterprises has been gaining market share in a lot of sectors which they shouldn't have been in the first place. So that actually has something to do with the phenomenon that the money goes to the property and no one, less and less people interested in real economic investment. So I think one thing they can try harder is to lower the entry barrier for the private sectors investors to enter things like telecommunication, which they're trying. We should give their credit, but more needs to be done.
Wei Yao, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.